Well, good evening, everyone, and it's finally here. It seems like forever after the last game of last year, but the 2024 edition of the Rejoice Christian Eagles football has arrived. Hello and welcome to the Rejoice Christian Eagles Coaches Show. I'm Bill Bush, joined by my wingman, Mark Kirk, and of course, head coach of the Rejoice Eagles, Brent Marley. And as always, Todd Whitten back there behind the camera and the controls. We're coming to you live. Schaefer, and right up the middle goes Noah, and he busts through and touchdown! Back to pass is Cale, looking over to his left. He got his man there, and it's Tristan Willis, and he may be gone to the races. He makes one man miss. He's down to 5. Touchdown! Rejoice Christian Eagles, as Tristan White did a lot of that on his own, making several men miss. Well, good evening and welcome everyone to the Buffalo Wild Wings Rejoice Christian Eagles Coaches Show. I'm Bill Bush, joined by my wingman Mark Kirk, head coach Brent Marley, and our special guest tonight is offensive line coach Chance Riley. And we are broadcasting live from our Coaches Show location here at Buffalo Wild Wings, 9623 North Owasso Expressway in Owasso, Oklahoma. We want to once again thank B-Dubs and Hunter and his staff for taking care of us, and they'll take care of you. Come on up and enjoy some wings. You still got time. Come on up tonight. There's all kinds of ball games going on. You can catch the end of this show. It was senior night last Friday night. Well, before I start that, I do want to say, I meant to say this. I want to say thank you to all the veterans out there.
Absolutely.
As, this is a very special night as we honor the veterans on 11/11. And a couple of my favorite veterans are my son, who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, Tyler Bush, and, of course, my son-in-law, Jimmy Griffin, who also served in Afghanistan. And so appreciate them, but we appreciate all our veterans on this special day. If you see a veteran this week, shake their hand, let them know, buy them a cup of coffee, whatever. Just let them know that you appreciate you living in this country because of what they've sacrificed to allow us to do. But as we said, it was senior night last Friday night, and the seniors and the rest of the team closed out the regular season portion of the season with a resounding 56-15 victory over district foe Warner Eagles to go undefeated in district play. And being senior night, if the seniors had anything other than football in their minds, it certainly didn't show. With the help of that stingy defense and the offense clicking on all cylinders, the Eagles made it look easy. And, Coach, other than not being able to score from the 14-yard line, Warner 14-yard line, and allowing them to go on a 66-yard drive in 50 seconds, other than that, I mean, we looked like, that they were letting everyone know that they're ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, we were grateful the way we came out. It looked good on the scoreboard. It looked good to everybody. I think for us internally, offensively, two of us sitting right here is like, man, we still got things we got to get better at and correct and all that. It was by no means perfect, but like you said, we scored every time we had the ball except for that one possession. We actually scored on that possession. We got a holding call, brought it back.
A phantom holding call, I might add. I mean, I went back. Was, I don't know what they saw, but I went back and watched it, and I slow-moed it several times. I'm going, I didn't see it.
No. But, yeah, it was a good night, though. A great, good crowd, and it was good that we switched it to Thursday for the weather and didn't try to endure.
Yeah, you can ask Nowata about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
yes.
And in front of the fireplace
yes.
and just enjoying it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, looking at the recap of the previous game against Warner, in the first quarter, Warner won the toss. It went 3 and out. After a punt, Rejoice got the ball on the Warner 45-yard line, and we went on a 4-play, 45-yard drive when Ben Nichols reversed field after it was a screen out the left-hand side, got bottled up. He reversed field, comes all the way back around for a 30-yard pitch and catch for the touchdown, and that PAT was good. By Duncan Andrus. And then on Warner's very next possession from their own 45 on 2nd and 10, Luke Schaefer stepped in front of the receiver and intercepted the ball at 35 and returned it to the Rejoice 49. And on second and go from the 3, after we were marched down the field, Cale rushed in for a 3-yard touchdown, 2-point conversion failed. And then after forcing, and I'm curious because we don't usually go for 2. Is it just something we were trying to work on, I'm guessing?
Yeah, we've been doing dibble and dabble in some things, trying to diversify our portfolio. And anyway, yeah.
Okay. Well, and after forcing another 3 and out, Rejoice took over at the Warner 49-yard line and went on a 7-play, 49-yard drive, capped by a bruising 9-yard run by Noah for the TD. And this time the 2-point conversion worked when Cale hit Z in the corner for the 2-point conversion. And I mean, when I say bruising, the last guy that tried to tackle Noah ended up on his back in the end zone.
Yep.
He probably thought, I don't know if I want to do that again. And then after forcing yet another 3 and out, after a tackle for loss, the Riders were forced to punt the ball from their own 18-yard line. And after stopping Warren on a 4th and 1 from their own 29, Camion Compton Nero took the handoff. After stopping Warner, it was 4th and 1 from the 29, and Camion, it's just supposed to be enough for a first down.
Yeah, needed one.
But he added 70 to it and took it to the house for the score, and the PAT was good for that 71-yard run. And then after forcing a punt, the Eagles drove from their 20 to the Warner 14-yard line, and that's what we were kind of talking about. It couldn't punch it in. And again, I've got it in my notes. I thought it was a phantom holding call. Didn't see it by that negated Camion's touchdown run. And Warner was able to drive 66 yards in 51 seconds to score, and the 2-point conversion was good. I'm guessing that going in at halftime, Coach Eckel was not very pleased with allowing that touchdown before halftime.
He was not. You didn't have to be in there to know. You just had to be in the vicinity to know.
Within the walls. Yeah. So in the third quarter, we come out but what are you telling you guys? It's kind of, you're up 28-8. The game's pretty much well in hand. It very easily could have been up 36-0. What are you telling your guys other than that last drive was just not very Rejoice-like? What are we doing?
Well, they scored that last drive, and you probably just said it. Was it 4 or 5 plays? I don't know. Too easy. It was a hot knife through butter, and that showed you they're not done. They're not quitting. Did we think they were going to lay down at 28-0? And we've got to be more mature than that. We've got to be better than that. We've got to, hold them from getting those big chunk plays on that last drive. A couple of plays were – like 25 and 50 or whatever, or 40. It was a long, know. So what is the situation? And that's really was Coach Eckel's message was read the room. Like there's 30 seconds left.
They're going long.
They've got to go this far. Just stay back.
Yeah.
Everybody just stay back.
Yeah.
And so it was good for us. And I went in the office after he said his piece, and he told me, that was good for us. And he changed his tune, right? And I agreed totally. Is good for us because we got to be smarter in those situations, and sometimes you don't get kids smarter unless you get to experience it.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll be good for us down the road.
I think it shows what happens if you have that lack of concentration. To me that's kind of what it looked like. It's just kind of just let down a little bit and see what see what happens.
Yep.
Because again, you're playing a team that's got nothing to lose, everything to gain. You can't relax.
Right. Well, and we're used to our defense always playing with an intensity, and it just didn't look like there was much intensity on that drive. Like Mark said, just relax.
It was time for halftime, but it wasn't quite halftime yet.
Well, and I think that's probably what they thought. They thought, oh, well, we got 56 seconds left, and, what's going to happen in 56 seconds? Right. Well, they can go down to scoring 50 of those, which they did.
Yeah, we forgot they were 7-2.
Right.
Warner was a 7-2 club.
And they were fighting for their playoff lives.
Right.
So you knew they're going to do whatever it takes, good, bad, or ugly, to try to win that game, including on a 50-second drive.
Right.
Well, we come in at halftime, and on first down from our own 36-yard line, Noah took the handoff, and just a beautiful run. This guy, he is so deceptive, and you just got to love that. All you got to do is get your offensive line and give him a crack, and he'll take a mile. I mean, he's one of those give him an inch, take a mile kind of guys. Camion, you can kind of see it because he gets out there and but Noah will bruise, and then you get it in the open, and he gets to the second level. Most of the time, you're not going to catch him.
Right, and with both those guys, I talk to the O-line all the time about, like you just said, just get them to the second level. And, with Noah, people don't want to tackle him.
No, we saw the guy in the first half.
And he's one of those guys that just gets stronger as it goes on. And then with Camion, obviously with his speed and his elusiveness, if you get those guys in space, it's good for us. And I was, in terms of the O-line, I kind of got after him a little bit at halftime too. There was a few mistakes, just mental bust that we hadn't done in a couple weeks, and it was real uncharacteristic. And really happy with obviously coming out in the first play and running buck sweep for a touchdown in the first play. That was a good response.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
they blocked
That's
it up
how
well.
and that's how you answer
Just
that.
switch that tone. I mean, you can kind of feel the momentum a little bit, right, coming into it, and then just switch the tone immediately.
Yep.
Yeah.
180-degree flip.
And you're right about him. He punishes people if they try to tackle him. I mean, our defense does their side of it. Usually when you get a defender like whether it's a Cade whether it's a Cade Schaefer or whether it's a Carson Losey or those, they punish you when they hit the tackler. It's flipped whenever Noah's running the ball because he usually does the punishing.
Yeah, he delivers the blow.
Yeah, and he enjoys it. I think it's like, I'm going to take on this, I'm going to take on this chore. You better be bigger than me, or you better go low, because if you try to tackle me high, I'm just going to run over you.
But what makes him different is he has that ability, but he also has the ability to run away from you.
Yeah.
And that's what. And
he can plant the foot.
Yeah. Make that turn and go. And
yes.
You know when it happens. The other thing I really like, I mean, he's got all-out speed, but that quickness from getting to the line.
Right.
So especially from an O-line perspective, you set your block up.
Yeah.
You don't have to hold that
block
a long time.
There's not a lot of dancing with him.
That's right.
No.
Exactly. You get your block, you make your gap, and he's gone. So.
Well, and then after the defense forced a Warner punt, the Eagles took over at the Warner 43, where Zizi Okufuluezi after making another great run. I mean, he made 4 guys miss and turned a short 6-yard pass into a 43-yard touchdown score, and the PAT was good. I mean, there's another good one and speed. We've got speed. We've got so many guys that if they get in the open, you're probably not going to catch them unless you've got a track star as one of your corners or as one of your safeties, and you've got a good angle. You're not going to catch these guys if you let them out in the open. So the Eagles then went up. That was to go up 49, or actually to 42-8. After that score, and then went up 49-8. Went on third down from their own 26. Warner on their own 26. Neil Lieber caused a fumble, and it was recovered by Cade Schaefer at the Warner 30-yard line. And on second down, Camion took it 25 yards on a quarterback keeper for his second TD. And that was one of those runs to where it just looks like he's just barely moving. And
loping along.
And then pretty soon you realize that he's going to score. I mean, and there's nobody even close to him. So just another great run. And then again, and this is all third quarter action. I mean, we scored 28 points in the first half and doubled that in the third quarter after forcing yet another punt on first down from the Warner 31. Camion hit Holt Wilson, who made a great catch for a 31-yard touchdown. Holt got slammed down just 2 plays before that, gets back up and says, I'm okay, and then goes out and scores, and the point after was good. And then in the fourth quarter, after a Rejoice fumble, Warner was able to score one more time from the Eagles 20 for a touchdown, and their PAT was good for the 56-15 final score. Looking at some of the offensive leaders, you had Cale, who was 6th, and I like this too. We got back to really being balanced, well-balanced on Friday night. Cale was 6-14, 1 interception for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. Camion was 2 for 2, 35 yards and a touchdown. In rushing, Noah, another good night with 12 rushes, 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. Camion, 5 rushes, another good night with Camion, 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jason Mahica, 4 rushes for 30 yards, and then Cale rushed 7 times for 28 yards and a touchdown. It's good to see him easing back in, Cale, back into the rushing game. and not just having it. Because once you get that, and we call them up there the three-headed monster. Once you get all three of those guys in the backfield, I mean, what? Yeah, and you're saying, okay, guys, this is fun because go ahead, we're going to block for Camion this time, and you hand off to him or Kale RPOs. I mean, what do you tell your guys as far as blocking schemes? And I'm sure you guys have it going, but
well, first of all, I'm a lot better O-line coach when those cats are carrying the ball.
When all three of them are healthy.
Yeah, they're pretty good, and basically, we talked to them again, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier. You don't have to just, we're obviously smaller than a lot of people that we play, but we don't have to just be absolutely devastating up front as far as moving people 6 yards off the ball. But, we want to have that mentality. That's what we want to do. But with the guys that we have in the skill positions, we don't have to do that. I mean, we're always going to strive for that. But, again, we talked about it before the show about asking, not asking our guys to do something they can't do.
Right.
Okay, they have certain strengths. And, again, like we talked about the first time I was on, is we're quick up front, we're athletic up front, we've got some speed. And so it's, again, producing angles that gives them an advantage and, not asking them to move a 280-pound nose guard by yourself,
right.
Or three technique or whatever it is. So you don't have to do anything extra, which is it's our job to put our guys in a good spot to be successful and get those guys the ball in space. And that's another good thing is, and especially with Kel getting healthy and the threat that he is, that helps our running game so much because they always have to account for him pulling the ball.
Exactly.
And so that helps tremendously.
And the same thing when Camion's in there. I mean,
same thing.
You put either one of those two guys with the RPOs. I mean, they're just deadly.
But when they're all three back there,
I
was putting in my position as a linebacker playing across there. You got your other linebacker sitting beside you. Okay, I'm going to take him. You're going to take him. We still leave somebody uncovered, right? So it's like, you
have to make a decision on.
Oops.
Okay, you're going to have to try something. You got to stop one of them. And so if people want to pack the box, well, we also have a lot of speed and athleticism out wide at receiver.
That's true.
Well,
so we can spit it out there and make them ease up in the box.
And we saw that too.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the upcoming game because you look at some of the film of some other teams. They don't have that ability. They can crash the middle and they can get some yards, but once they start trying to go out on the outside, it's a little more difficult because they just don't have the speed. And not only that, defense, we've got speed to close that down really fast. And
our defensive linemen running people down out in the wings.
You've got guys that can play linebacker that could also carry the rock if they had to, but they're on the defensive side of the ball. And so
we've got defensive linemen asking me every week if they can play quarterback. And Karsten Losi, I hope you're watching, buddy.
Because the answer's still no, right?
Well,
Carter
I'm thinking about it.
Carter Akery as well has been asking to carry the ball at running back a lot.
Well, on the receiving end, we were talking about, those RPOs, but you've got receivers like ZZ that had 3 catches for 81 yards and a touchdown. Ben Nichols, 2 catches, 55 yards and a touchdown, the touchdown we talked about earlier. And then Hope Wilson with 2 catches, 35 yards and a touchdown. So, Coach, like I said, pretty good night on offense. You had 303 yards on the ground and 191 through the air, and also several big plays. I mean, I think there were probably 10 big plays, and that's not even counting maybe the defense. But with Z and Hope Wilson and Noah and Camion all making big plays, and then special teams continue to play well.
Right.
They were solid.
It's just a whole lot to be thankful for. It's just fun. It's just fun when you see more kids involved, more kids having big plays and playing well. And I think there was 10 plays that were over 20 yards or 30 yards on that big play stat. And so, and it really can come at any time and from multiple people. I think about that first touchdown to Ben Nichols, that wasn't even designed for that.
Yeah.
And Kel threw the ball kind of low, and Ben caught it, and I think it pulled his momentum across, and he's just like, okay, I'll just go this way.
Keep on going. That's exactly what it looked like.
But you know what? He had an offensive line that said, we got to go block for him. He's reverse field, and just sealed it off.
Yep. Z made a good block on that, and so did Noah Goodwin. And the offensive lineman, they picked some guys off too, so
Yeah.
It's good.
And so on the defensive side, Mark, what do you got?
Well, again, it was another great night for the defense. We didn't see the number of tackles, but there wasn't that many offensive plays. I mean, I think we probably saw the differential just between the opponent, right? But still scattered across the board. lots of guys getting involved. Lots of guys getting involved on tackles for losses. Cade Schaefer, once again, fantastic night. 6 solo, 3 assists, a sack, and 1 fumble recovery. Maverick Gwynn, 3 solo, 3 assists. Carson Losey, 3 solo, 5 assists, and a sack. Camion, 3 solo, and assist, and 1 for loss and a pass breakup. Noah Schnackenberg, 5 solos, 2 assists, and 1 tackle for loss. Luke Schaefer, 4 solo, and an interception. Love to see those turnovers. What's our differential now on
It's a lot. We were.
Because we asked that a couple weeks
I
ago.
actually got them today.
Yeah,
and I can look them up here.
Because it's got to be.
we're plus.
We just keep, we keep spreading out. While he's looking that up, Mark.
Luke Schaefer, Tristan Willis, 5 solo assists, another tackle for loss. So Neil Lieber, Wilson, Zizi, all with pass breakups too. That we're kind of impressed actually with Warner's quarterback making throws. I mean, he was on target with a lot of throws. We had to make some excellent plays on defense to break those passes up. That was fantastic as well. I mean, other than the one drive at the end of the half, the D gave offense great field position all night long, several possessions beginning on Warner's side of the 50-yard line. So it was a much more traditional game than the game 2 weeks ago, right?
Right.
So this was much more like what we would expect to see. Fantastic performance again.
It's 27. We've forced 27 turnovers, and we've turned the ball over 11 times. So
that's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah,
excellent.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd take almost 3-to-1 ratio any day of the week. So, and once again, we didn't give. But that's the other big thing that doesn't really show up in the stats much. When we get the tackles and all that, but when you give the offense the ball from the 50-yard line in, and all we have to do is cover 50 yards, that's a whole lot better than. And that's one guy that one of these days, probably pretty soon, we're going to have to give defensive player of the game to Duncan Andrus, because how many times, I'd like to see that stat, how many times he has had touchbacks, because I would say 80% of the time, unless it's just a blistering wind,
Right.
it's going to go in the end zone, and you make that team go 80 and you're going 50 or less. I mean, that's a huge
Definitely a weapon.
stat.
It definitely. I mean,
Stat.
between putting people back on touchbacks and kicking extra points over and over and over again, I mean, he could be offensive player of the game too.
Yeah,
So it's like-
absolutely.
What's been impressive, I've thought, obviously he's kicking the end zone a lot, and we want that. It's great. But on times when it is windy, our coverage team has been really good.
They have been.
There's been.
Yes.
Was it a couple weeks ago? We tackled him inside the 20 like 3 or 4
Yep.
times.
Yeah, even
if we don't get to the end zone, our coverage team is getting down there and making plays.
And we did that Friday night, too.
Yeah.
I think there was at least twice, if not 3 times, that he didn't make it to the end zone because of the wind.
Yep.
And they're tackling him inside the 20-yard line. That's a plus.
And that says a lot, too, because it would be easy for those guys to relax
and say, it's going to the end zone.
and not run down there as fast as they can, because they do expect him to kick in the end zone every time.
So, and once again, we didn't give our players of the game out during the broadcast, so we're going to do that now. And so, Mark, who do you have on our defensive player of the
defense,
game?
again, there was a lot of guys. I mean, there was a lot of guys that you could give that player of the game to. But for this week, we're going to go with Carson Losey. He had a great game, lots of solo tackles, and he just was always in. He was always around the ball. It's just that's the one thing about playing defense. You got to be where the ball's at, and that's exactly what he was doing all night long.
And he laid the wood on several guys, especially early. He kind of set the tone early.
Some good hits. That's for
sure. He just plays with, which a lot of our defensive guys do, just with reckless abandon.
Attitude.
They all run to the ball.
Yes, they do. Yeah, we just converge. If the first guy misses, there's usually somebody right there especially around the line, to pick up the slack.
It's a feeding frenzy.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of you son though, because I remember one of my coaches telling us one time before, offense, it's like you're imposing your will on the other team, right? You set the tone, you do what you're going to do. On defense, you're a predator. Mm-hmm. You're a predator. You go after the ball. You go after the guy with the ball. You take care of your responsibility. You go after somebody.
Yeah.
So, I kind of like that part.
Like I say, the feeding frenzy, like a shark.
Feeding frenzy,
yeah.
Exactly.
And on offensive player of the game, this guy could have also had the big player of the game with his 71-yard run, but he did it on the ground and passing. He was responsible for 155 total yards and 3 touchdowns, and that's Camion Compton-Nero. Again, like we said, he's one of that 3-headed monster back there that it's just hard to pick how you're going to cover him, especially if he's at QB. Well, him or Kale won, and when Kale gets healthy to where he's 100%, I would hate to be a defensive coordinator and somebody saying, well, why couldn't you Why couldn't you tackle those guys? Which one?
Well, I'll say this too. It has been it's been so neat for me. It's been tough on me as a head coach and a dad, having your son as a senior and knowing what he can do with his legs. That's really his best attribute, and we've just been seeing him facilitate. And then what's been such a blessing is Camion, when he's came in and been those legs throughout some of the season, and he's still doing it obviously because it's who he is. But like even today in practice, when those guys rotate and we switch them over, I mean, like today they're hugging each other.
Yeah,
those guys are hugging each other and they're close. And I think that it was promising. I think Kel is right. He's almost there, just because the other night they had him dead to rights on a few passes, and he couldn't. He got out of it, and they couldn't get him. And then one time he threw the ball to ZZ right before he's going out of bounds. Another time he'd get 10, 15 yards. Mm-hmm. I think that he's just talking to the trainer today. She's thinking he's pretty much now we can just release him to tell him he can go, which is good because we've not been able to tell him that yet. And just get what you can, get out of bounds, type thing. So it'll be fun.
And now you turn him loose and it truly is who you going to defend now. You've got three guys back there.
Our sack numbers go down when he can move around like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's good for an O-line coach again.
Absolutely.
Well, and our big play, I mean, several players were up for the big play of the game, so we had to narrow it down to one. And it's not the first time, and it certainly won't be the last that this player has made big plays, and last Friday night was no exception. He had 2 touchdowns, but that 64-yard run was our big play of the game, and that is Noah Goodwin. But like I say, Ben Nichols had a big play. Noah had a big play. ZZ had a big play.
Camion. Two of them.
Yeah, 2 of them, But again, we try to have a big player of the game because if we wanted to, each week we could have 3 offensive players of the game. We could have 4 defensive players of the game.
I could pick a lot more than 4 defensive guys. I could pick a lot more.
Yeah, 100%. So anyway, congratulations to those guys for our Jersey Mike's players of the game. And we certainly appreciate Jersey Mike's being able to sponsor our players of the game this year. So, Coach, the regular season's over, and you're right where you wanted to be at this point in the season. District A14 champions. I mean, that's one of your goals up on the board. Obviously, you want to go undefeated, but whether you go undefeated or not, when you're champions of your district, it sets you up for the playoffs. And hosting, but you are undefeated in the playoffs, and you're hosting the first 2 rounds of the playoffs as long as we can advance. Now we just have to keep winning to be able to do that. And now it really gets real. I mean, the real season starts right now. We kind of talk about, the non-conference is kind of like season 1. Then you get into, I say conference, that's my baseball speak, but district play. And so then you win your district, that's season 2. Well, now the real season starts. You're where you want to be. And I'm guessing it's pretty easy to get your players in the mindset of going after that next goal, and that's winning the next game and continue the march towards the ultimate prize.
Yeah, it is. This is it. This is where you try to get to, and half the teams are checking in their equipment today in the state, and it'll be half of the half that's left every week. And so you just can't take things for granted, right? Life's about not having regrets, and you never realize what you have until it's gone. And so we've got to let's just be present and in the moment and get better. And we still have some moments today. I mean, we had to have a little talk at the beginning of practice today, and get going back. Let's get going again. I mean, we can't. We got a fun group. They're kind of, they're free. They're kind of free, and sometimes they enjoy each other, and you want that, and you don't ever want them to. You don't want to take that away, but you also have to stay focused on business and getting better, but allow them to be them as well. And so, anyway, it's been a blessing with this group, and to be sitting at 9-1, where we're at in the season. Our coaching staff, Coach Riley is one of them here. It's been maybe the best staff I've ever had, most fun staff. I mean, we've gotten we do football bowling together. We have a pick 'em each week. It's just the office is fun. It's been a great time, and I want it to keep going as long as we can.
Well, and this is one of the first times I remember in several seasons, I really can't, maybe in the last 4 or 5 seasons, that all the starters you had at the beginning of the season are now at the end of the season, and all healthy at the right time.
I don't know if that's been that way here in 5-6 years.
Yeah, it's been well, I think ever since starting the
I don't
Chance
think we've had
Wilson
it.
days,
Yeah.
there's either your star running back is either out, or Chance was out, or Cale was out. Caden, whenever, your star linebacker
Jay
being
Miller
out.
got hurt that year.
Yeah, Miller.
That's
one of
right.
the best receivers. Year after year, a key cog in the system went down at some point and was not available in the most important part of the season in the playoffs. This is one of the first times I can remember that we actually can say, you know what, we're in pretty good shape right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, upcoming game this Friday night, it's a familiar foe. The Nowata Ironmen come to town this Friday for the first round of the playoffs. And Nowata's been in our district the past few years. And, Coach, looking at a couple games on film, the Ironmen seem to have a well-balanced attack. I noticed that their quarterback, he likes to both run the ball and he can sling it down the field. Last week wasn't probably indicative of what they can do. It was just a sloppy, messy game. A 6-2 ball game. That's a baseball score. That's winning it in 7 innings. But they also have some big receivers, and they're obviously better than they've been in the past few years, or they wouldn't be in the playoffs.
Right.
How are we preparing for that offense?
Yeah, it's just what I like about balanced offenses is everybody in their position groups and all the way across the board defensively. It's not going to be a game that's going to be a quiet night for the secondary because they just run the ball or vice versa. Mm-hmm. So everybody's got to have their A game, be ready to go, knowing their part in their realm, what's their favorite pass route combinations, who they're trying to get the ball to in the air. The quarterback, what are his mannerisms as far as run game. Yes, he is a good runner. He's a big 200-pound kid. They got 2 or 3 tailbacks too. They rotate the running backs.
Number 23.
23,
he's
22.
like a little scat back.
6,
he hides behind his line and then pretty soon takes off.
They've got a few, but it's going to be a challenge for us. They're going to look good in uniform in the skill positions, and we just got to be ready to play.
Well, and I noticed also it was kind of like Rejoice-esque, to where they allowed Tonkawa to get a lot of yards, and Tonkawa would drive down to the 10, or they'd drive down, and then that defense would stiffen up and keep them from scoring. Yeah. Tonkawa only scored 6 points on them. Yeah,
I told someone the other day that Nowata scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 7th, and then Tonkawa scored 6 in the top of the 9th. And Nowata, bottom of the 9th, they 3 up, 3 down. So but they could have won that game. The weather really, all across the state, the weather messed stuff up. So the scores were just weird last Friday night.
So, Coach Riley, I'll just ask you, so again, their defense, they did allow them to move the ball, Tonkawa to move the ball, but was able to stiffen up. Is that something that you specifically prepare for? Did they change their D when they get down close like that, or did Tonkawa change their offense?
Well, I think first of all, Nowata, I think the strength of their defense is their D-line. They've got some good-sized kids, and they fire off the football, and they play hard. They've got a linebacker that's really good. He really passes the eye test. He's a good football player. But, so for us as an offensive line up front, it's going to be a challenge, and it's a good thing. I'm glad. I like that, and I like that our kids are going to be challenged. It helps you get their focus during the week of practice. And then when you get down to the goal line, I talk to our guys all the time about, this is where your focus has to heighten big time, and we can't have mistakes, and because the field shrinks down there. You can't space everybody out like you can, and have anybody taking the top off the defense to help kind of open things up. So you just got to be laser focused down there, and you can't have any mental errors. And obviously it gets tough down there, so you have to be physical, and everything just kind of tightens up.
Yep. Well, and as we said, with a loss, Warner's season is over. Even though they ended up with the same record in district as Hartshorn and Panama, they lost the 3-way tie by points differential. So Rejoice won the district, followed by Pocola, and then Hartshorn, then Panama. And Coach, I was talking to Coach Riley before we came on the air. I wouldn't be surprised at all if our district came up with 4 wins in the first rounds of the playoffs. I mean, I think our district is especially tough. I expect us to at least win 3 of the 4.
Yeah, we're talking about the other day that Warner doesn't make the playoffs, like you said, in our district. They're the 5th place team, and they beat Nowata earlier in the year. They played the 4th place team,
and they beat Pawnee. They beat Panama.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, they beat Panama.
Yeah.
So I mean, you look at all these scores, and I don't know. I do think our district. I don't know how healthy Panama and Hartshorn are right now. That'll be interesting. I think Pecola's gotten healthy, from what I hear. And but yeah, I do think that our district has a chance to make some noise.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also want to say to the Warner, don't know his name, number 4 for Warner.
Bradley,
we got a good report that nothing serious, had a concussion, and we're glad about that. We appreciate anybody that offered up prayers for that young man, and glad to see that he's recovering nicely. Coach Riley, any final thoughts?
No, excited about it. Playoff football is really good. Playoff football in Oklahoma is pretty special. So excited to be a part of it. I'm super glad I'm here to do it, and I'm looking forward to Friday.
Yeah. Coach Marley?
Oh, just ready to go. Let's enjoy each one. You want to keep moving your mind ahead to the next. Look at the bracket.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Man, soak this up and let's go 1-0.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mark, last thoughts?
They're one at a time, and it's win or go home every
right.
week. So
That's right.
concentrate on this week.
Yep.
That's right. Well, folks, it should be a good one this Friday night, and we can't stress it enough. We need you to come out to the game and bring your cheering, your clapping, bring the noise. These young men have worked really, really hard to get to this point, so show up, show out. Let's get back to the Rejoice crowds as we know that we can. And, I mean, it should be standing room only along the fence down there this Friday night. It's going to be a beautiful evening.
Night.
I mean,
exactly.
it's
That's what I hear.
mid-60s,
Yep.
clear skies. I mean, it will be football weather. And so just come out there and show up, and you'll see a good ball game, and then get these guys on to that next level to their second round. But as always, Mark and I will be on the air Friday night. We'll bring you all of that playoff action if for some reason you can't make it out. But so for tonight, for my wingman, Mark Kirk, coaches Brent Marley and Chance Riley, and our engineer, Todd Whitten, I'm Bill Bush, and you've been watching the Rejoice Christian Eagles Coaches Show on this Rejoice Athletics TV channel. Good night, God bless, and go Eagles.